The Match Ball.
Hello there, welcome to The Match Ball, live streamed on YouTube for our TSB Plus members, released afterwards as well if you're listening afterwards. Priority access to The Match Ball with TSB Plus. Show is brought to you with Levi Solicitors. 10% discount on your legal fees, levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball. Will's probate conveyancing.
Correct, as people said.
Professional negligence and so on and so forth.
The referee, eh? Hey, professional negligence.
Yes, I've come away from that game, 1-1 draw versus Coventry, sort of feeling vaguely angry at the world, and I don't know where to direct my anger, but I think it's going to be at the referee. I hate talking about referees because it's in your own gift to win a game, isn't it? But we didn't win that game. And the referee made me feel a bit sad about it all.
We should still have won.
Yes.
I think it's worth saying. There were chances to win it. The Dan James one being the big one towards the end.
How did that look where you are? It looked like there was a tackle on him. Couldn't tell.
People what watched it have messaged me and said there was a deflection on it, yeah.
Like he was under a lot of pressure, wasn't he? Wasn't like
it was very
left
close.
alone.
It was very close.
As much pressure as when he went down looking for a free kick in the first half.
I've not seen that, but I saw it was Dan James, and I went, "Oh."
Yeah, again, people who saw that on video said that he was through and he should have just put his foot through it.
Yeah, he seemed to fancy getting a free kick instead. He was looking around and going. You could say he was kind of looking here. Going, what shall I do? And
just score.
A few people got. Yeah, I think it's. There were two players on him, so maybe he felt like it was a better option. But yeah, just scoring would have been good.
I think we should have scored more. Can I just draw your attention to the comment that Lee has? So we'll kick off the comments that are coming in via YouTube, via the stream, that Leah sent in. That's it then. Cancel the kitchen scraps for lepers and orphans, no more merciful beheadings, and call off Christmas. Send back the tree, cancel the turkey, the full shebang, get rid of it. I'm done now. Shut the club down.
You can't even see it on this, but I'm pushing this tree over, just so you know. There you go.
Thanks.
It's ruined.
What was you were talking about the referee?
Yeah, Jeff Eltringham from County Durham. He annoyed me to the extent that I actually went and bothered to look him up.
In some ways, he looked...
Leeds-hating bastard.
I've broken this tree in half now, actually. I've ruined Christmas. In some ways, he was quite a traditional old referee, because he was... A lot of referees these days look quite buff, don't they? And like they're actually fit. Whereas he was a proper little fat middle-aged man, like refs of old.
Yeah, I don't know why I feel so angry at him. He just seemed to have absolutely no command over the game whatsoever, did he?
I think the best bit of him trying to get control was when he didn't even know what had happened, but Bamford and someone were shoving in the box, and he came marching over to sort it out. But he hadn't seen what had happened. He didn't know what he was going to do, so he just stood there blowing his whistle really, really hard, and pointed at him. And it was like, well, what are you? You don't even know. You just know something has happened, so you've come over and blown your whistle, but you have no idea how to sort this out.
You can tell a bad ref when both teams are pretty annoyed at him. That's the thing. It was kind of, this is why, because you can't actually put your finger on what was like the specific problems with him, but it felt like both teams and both sets of fans were both pretty miffed about him at various points, and sometimes at the same points, like that one with Bamford and friends, where he just doesn't really know what's happening, doesn't know what to do about it. Everybody's just mad at him, and that's kind of the sign of a bad ref.
Well, I thought as well, he seemed to give a lot of free kicks for nothing in really inconsequential spots.
Yeah.
But then as soon as there was any decisions to be made on bigger stuff,
he
seemed to just sort of leave it.
Yeah, that's what I think I'm angry at. Yeah.
It was like, happy to give a free kick.
He didn't want to make important decisions, did he?
No, happy to give free kicks in corners, like in a defensive area. The winger might have lent on him a bit, fine. But then at other times, it was just bewildering. And also, he seemed to let, it was Sims, wasn't it, who was there up front?
Ellis Sims, yeah.
He just seemed to be determined to injure Pascal Struijk every time the ball went in the air, and I thought, why is the ref letting him do this over and over again? Like he was just always getting a run on him or leaning into him or something. And at one point this was the linesman's fault rather than the refs. He was in the northeast corner, and you could see Pascal Struijk's shirt. He was pulling the number around the front of him, and the linesman was just stood literally 2-3 yards away from it, and clearly seeing Struijk's number and go on the front of his shirt and going, that looks fine.
Did you enjoy him booking Christian Somerville for getting injured?
Yeah, well,
he booked him for being stood on, didn't he?
I assume he said something to him. He was cross patch, wasn't he? By the end,
he
was full Max Gradle, wasn't he?
Well, there was the on that incident. I think it was because he was annoyed at being trodden on, but then wouldn't go off for treatment, which he didn't have to, because the referee. It's up to the player if he wants to go off the pitch or not at the moment. And then because the referee kept saying, well, go over there to the physios. And he's like, no, I just want to keep playing. And he booked him for dissent, which there is actually going to be a rule that is coming into the MLS next season. So you say this podgy fella who was refereeing today is behind the times. He's actually ahead of it, because there's going to be a rule that they've tried in lower leagues where it's any player who remains down with a suspected injury for at least 15 seconds is to be removed from the field by a medical crew and receive treatment on the sideline for a minimum of 2 minutes, except when the injuries come from fouls that earn yellow or red cards. So if you stay down for 15 seconds, you have to go off and be treated for 2 minutes.
2 minutes?
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Because they're making him stay off for 30 seconds now, like he did with Archie. I think he almost forgot that Archie had been taken off.
Yeah, the fourth official was saying to, what's our head of medicine called?
Rob Price?
Yeah, he was over there, and he was like, they were both looking at the watches, and the fourth official was like, I think he's just forgotten.
Brilliant.
And there's going to be a time substitution rule which requires players to exit the playing field within 10 seconds. And if they fail to leave, their replacement will have to wait an additional minute and then enter at the next stoppage. So that's going to be... so you say Eltringham is stuck in the past. He's the most forward-thinking, forward-looking official we have. But then, and I want to highlight, I enjoyed Jorginho Rutter saved Crescencio Somerville, because I think he
did. Yeah, he
realised...
fully intercepted him, didn't he?
Before the scuffle at full time, but when they were going for it on the pitch, they were kind of standing, and I could see Rutter behind over Palmer's shoulder, and it was like the light bulb went on. He went, he's already been booked. And he went sprinting over.
That's what I was thinking about. I thought if the ref actually decides to do something here, because he kind of blew his whistle at one point, and I thought he was going to start getting involved. By which time I think Farker had made his way around to him and then started speaking, shaking his hand or whatever, and then made his way away from him. But there was a point at which I thought, this is getting dicey here.
Yeah, well, that was full time, but then it was during the game when Rutter ran over and stopped him.
Yeah, he was being Beckford to his Gradle, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. More successful.
Rugby tackling him, trying to beg him not to do it.
But then it kind of inspired, because then when there was the Bamford incident, Rutter was over there trying to do the same thing for that. And it was like, there's only so much peacemaking that a referee is going to take before he's going to decide, actually, you're the problem, because you're running over, grabbing everybody and dragging them away. I think he started on some Coventry players that time instead of removing Pazabamps.
Just
good times.
Yeah, towards Peter's comment, just got it on screen on the live stream. Just another of those championship games like Sunderland, Dan? I suppose the thing is, it is. We did more than enough to win that game and should have won it. We should have taken our chances. But unfortunately, we didn't.
We don't look in form, though, do we?
No.
As much as I think we should probably have won the game. We definitely had better chances. The chance they did score was pretty good, I would say. It looked, I don't know what the XG on it was, but it seemed like a bit of a nod in from short range.
I saw it coming from about a mile off that as well. When I looked, I was like, there's 2 men over here in the middle. If they can get it across, they have done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It felt like it was more or less a tap in did their goal, whereas a lot of our chances were half like shots in through a crowd and people spinning and having a shot, but then it's dragging it wide, or it's just not a clear-cut chance for the most part. We had a lot of chances, but I don't think there were many that I would say were
out and out.
Yeah. I don't know. They do stats on big chances and stuff, but I don't think we have many.
What you're saying about us being a little bit out of form, I think, to be honest, had we won that, we would have been perfectly fine. I mean, like we started, I don't know, we looked kind of lively. After we went 1-0 up, we looked a little bit lively, like we could possibly roll them over, and then obviously we let them back into it, and you know the rest. But we're not out of form so much. It's just like there's just certain passages of play where passes are getting misplaced. Like, I don't know, like Kamara and Ampadu are both guilty of it a couple of times. I think they're almost like the bellwethers for this when they're not quite on it. Even if it's just a few percentage and they're giving the ball away, it just seems to break down a little bit, the whole thing. I don't know.
It broke down a lot in the first half when we kept playing into Rutter, and every single time, it's kind of why we love him. But it was very frustrating in the first half because he just kept trying to do something clever with it every time he received it. He was always trying to turn and spin away from people, but then he seemed to, he was probably, given the ref's general performance, he was probably fouled on about half of them, but he just, so I was sort of begging him to do something a little bit straightforward in the first half.
Yeah, just take a touch, pass it, lay it off. Yeah, but
yeah,
he was
just now and then.
Yeah.
Just now and then. So that wasn't really working. Pirosa seemed to drift through the game, never with a real place in it. So
but never does anything really wrong either.
No.
He's kind of just there sometimes. But he's generally quite tidy in possession. But even then a couple of times today he got caught, didn't he?
I don't really remember him being involved very much.
But But a lot of what we do is kind of just looking after the ball, isn't it? Looking after possession and minimising risk. And they're very calculated about when they take their risks with the through balls. Like we started it relatively brightly. I thought one of the things we've been guilty of perhaps in recent weeks where it's not quite happened is passing the ball through the lines, to try and break the lines. I thought we did that quite well today, even if it didn't quite work. You were just kind of waiting for it all to click into life. I don't know.
Spent a lot more time on the bylines than we have done for a while. It seemed like trying to get there and run across and try to put a ball in the 6-yard box. It nearly worked a few times. Dan James, I thought, was brilliant in the first half. Yeah. Partly for chasing lost causes, but then turning them into something good. And him and Rutter, there was a period at one point where we went from left byline to right byline to left byline again, cutting back every single time. And it's part of the idea of having Peru where he is so he can come in and finish those. But there's Farkas made the point that Coventry picked all their defensive players today and left their offensive ones on the bench and brought them on later. And I think although they weren't packing the same way Sunderland were, because it was just a 4-4-1-1 with Cov, they were getting enough people into the box that the ball just became a bit pinball-y and a bit scrambly. But the thing with all that is we attempt to get very precise in the penalty area. It's often Somerville and Rutter will be doing these little flicks trying to set up. Isn't there a goal that Arsenal scored with Pires years ago where it's like the perfect flicks to each other in the penalty area and get volleyed in? It always looks like they're trying to recreate that. And it's very difficult to make it work. And that's why when you just do something simpler, that's pretty much how we scored the goal. We'd failed at it about a minute before, and I was starting to think, well, not starting to think, but it was another occasion of thinking, we need to simplify. But then, a minute later, they did it and it worked. So,
well, I was going to say, do you agree with Tony T's comment that Rutter is a show pony? Because he got the assist again today, didn't he? So, he was trying too much at times, but ultimately he assisted.
He does loads of really good stuff. I'm a bit frustrated by him today because a lot of it wasn't coming off, and sometimes when you've tried to do a turn like 8 times in a row and you've never got past anyone, just make it easy for yourself as much as anything. But then it's a great pass, isn't it, for the goal from what I can remember of it. I was jumping around, but it looked like it was a typical Rutter pass in that he's seen a gap no one else. He's seen a gap that no one else sees, and that's why I have him on the pitch, because he does stuff like that.
And the way we play invites Somerville and Rutter in particular. Dan James doesn't really have the same style of playing, but it invites them to be show ponies, because the idea is we don't have a Pablo Hernandez who can set up chance after chance from deep. It's give the ball to them, and then one-on-one, you're thinking Rutter versus Liam Kitchen, or Rutter against whoever else they've got, Somerville against that loser who played the first half for Huddersfield. Just beat them, because you've got the skill. So do something to surprise them, imbalance them, to use the old Bielsaism, and then score from that. So it's kind of trying to make the most of our one-on-one, man-for-man, player-for-player, individual levels. But then, and it works quite a lot. Like you say, the goal it worked for, but then if a team is well organised, you're just spinning into, what's the word? Walls. What's the opposite of space? The ground.
Unspace.
Yeah.
Non-space.
Matter.
Farkas' comments are coming in the post-match. Disappointment and frustration is what he said. When you win a point, you see positive aspects, but after this game, it feels like 2 points dropped. When you judge the game, we should have won. We did more than enough. I want us to feel the disappointment. I don't want to talk about the positives. Coventry, they put everyone who could defend on their team sheet. They left their creative players out. It was clear that they would sit very deep. You have to be relentless until you open them. We did this with a fantastic goal. The problem is we didn't bury the game. Then a totally unnecessary loss of the ball, and we allowed a cross to come in. There was one cross we had to deal with in the whole game. We weren't able.
Fair enough. Who was actually to blame for it?
Everybody.
You
want a scapegoat?
No, I just wondered, because I can't remember the passage of play that went before it. I know the cross came from our left, didn't it? And then presumably one of the centre backs have been there.
I'm fairly sure I remarked, "Don't lose it there," to whoever it was that lost it.
Yeah, I can't remember whoever it was that lost it, and then it ends with Meslier has that habit of ending up behind his line when he's trying to save a header like that, which happens quite often. But then before that, Jed Spence not stopping the cross has a thing where I noticed today, and obviously he's playing on the wrong side, but he's very, very right-footed, and he tried a couple of times. Once actually it worked quite well, but I noticed it was a bit unorthodox. He tackles with his other leg that you would expect a left back to do. And he was trying to do that on this. So he's trying to tackle with his right leg. So as they're coming across from his right side, and it is ungainly and not really effective, and didn't help stop what was happening there. And that was the moment, because we lost the ball in the middle. We need to find out who that was, and then we'll say mean things about them. But then when it went wide, you could see the
fucking Liam Cooper. You
could see the space in the middle, and you think, right, Spence, just block this. And he did his wrong leg tackle thing, and the cross went in, and it's like, right, Meslier, save that header.
Do you think we're sometimes slow in defending? Because I do wonder, because we're so used to attacking and we have so much command in these games that we're almost not ready sometimes to get back and
No, I thought we defended really well today. When you were talking about Sims before on Strauch, I thought Strauch was absolutely brilliant against him.
I just felt like the ref let Sims do what he wanted, which was just frustrating me.
Strauch, who we've particularly in the Premier League has looked a bit bullyable, absolutely stood up to him. And Sims is, not. I mean, it was only Everton, but he did play in the Premier League, so he's familiar with it.
It's Everton.
So he's a good striker, particularly at this level. And then I think we're finding that
he's a big boy as well, isn't he?
He is a big boy, but Strauch had was all over him. There was that bit, it was in the northeast corner when the ball was going out for a throw, and they were both standing about 5 yards away from it, just wrestling. And I quite enjoyed that the linesman and the referee were both just like, "We'll just carry on, and then if one of you wants to go and get the ball, that'll be fine." And it was kind of like that for most of the game. But I thought Strauch was brilliant against him, and Ampadu got back when we were under pressure. Roden got back a few times, so I didn't feel like we're slow getting back in any particular way.
But then the goal happened. Thanks to Robert, who just clarified it was Kamara who gave the ball away initially for their goal.
Fucking hell. Furious with him now. Just on Sims, I've just remembered something else that you've just triggered a memory there of when in the first half the ref gave a free kick for against Somerville on Sims, when Sims had basically pushed Somerville out. We were trying to play the ball through to Somerville. Sims kind of grabbed him and shoved him onto one side of the box. Then he gave a free kick to them for that, and presumably guessing that Somerville had, instead of going for the ball, decided to grab hold of Sims.
Which you would,
and drag him out of the box.
You fancy your chances at Somerville's size against him?
It's very. I'd like to see that again, because it seemed bizarre.
We got a bit. The referee is relevant, I think, but it's maybe more about what Leeds did, because it felt at times because Coventry started with 3 big fouls or tackles. I don't know if they were all given, but they went on James.
James got absolutely ragdolled in about the first 30 seconds, didn't he? Just got chucked.
Yeah, so they were kind of setting the stall out. And then in the second half, we started doing a lot of kind of Brendaning, where we were going down a lot and then looking around going, why isn't that a free kick? And not cottoning on to the fact that we were not going to get them and we needed to stop looking for them. But there was still that forlorn kind of, it was like having a team of Aronsons for a while. And you think, just get the ball. Don't worry, you're not going to get anything from this guy. And they are going to knock you over as much as they can. So just keep going after the ball.
Yeah, he seemed to not be willing to book them as well. For I thought the foul on James in the first minute could have been a yellow potentially, because he just went past one. And there was the foul in, in fact, the one where Archie Gray had to go off injured. I can't for the world of me see why that's not a booking.
It should have been,
because he's going past him.
I was close to that.
He's going past him and he just clatters him because he knows he's past him. It's always a booking, but for some reason the ref was like, nah, whatever.
Do you think he should have sent their goalie off?
Yeah.
Twice.
Well, but weirdly, I think the one he booked him for, I reckon if you check back, he probably took longer than that on about 10 other goal kicks.
Yeah,
just absolutely fine on
for anyone who didn't see, he was booked for time wasting quite early on, but then just kept doing it because he knew that the ref ain't going to
and hadn't been doing it
book him again.
Up to the point where he scored, he was doing it as well.
It was quite a spectacular piss take after they'd equalised as well. It was some of the most audacious slowing down of a game I'd ever seen. When him and one of his defenders were like pretending to have a chat. It's like, they're fooling absolutely nobody, but I kind of respect the attempt.
Apart from the ref.
Yeah. Like pretending.
I can't take it, ref. We're talking. Being rude, interrupting my conversation. If you'd let me finish, we'll take this goal kick.
I was talking. Can I finish, please? I've heard from you.
The other good bit with the ref was when he wouldn't let the corner be taken because the
ball's somewhere near.
Another ball was on the pitch next to the post, so it's like that ball's got to go off. So somebody went and just rolled it off. He's like, no, it needs to be further away from the pitch. It's near the pitch.
Me that.
Yeah, so he had to go
I can see it in my peripheral vision.
give it to a ball boy.
Bitching and moaning about the ref. Farker's refusing to talk about him in the post-match. Says he's spoken about this ref before in the past, but he's not going to do so today, which I think is a really cute way of handling that.
I've called him a small, fat, useless little cat in the past.
A little kartoffel.
Now on Spence, actually, to go back, we were talking about him a while ago. I was sort of willing him to be on the right today.
Yeah.
You can see his instincts at various points would be to go down the line on stuff, but he realises when he gets there, he'll have to use his left foot.
He's got to check back, yeah.
And he's not going to be much use when he does that.
It goes to show you how good Byram is at it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But sorry, go on.
Yeah. But he's not done it before, has he, Spence, as far as I'm aware? So it is difficult. And he's got the pace to still do most of the defending stuff and some of the overlapping, but I don't sense he's really got any confidence in just knocking down the line and running, which...
No.
When he swaps sides, when we get a left back in January,
We could
really good left back.
We could try that, couldn't we? Again, a left back.
Yeah, I'm very happy with Sam Byram, to be clear, but just so we've got another option there.
But he's a fragile little thing, and
He is a
I mean,
bit.
Junior Firpo, ditto.
Yes,
and also he's hampered by being Junior Firpo.
yes, correct. I don't want to see Junior Firpo again.
It was nice to see Joe Gelhardt, though, wasn't it?
Yeah,
That was a nice surprise, I thought. There were two things I liked towards the end of the game. I was desperately looking for things to be pleased about, and one was Russia stopping Somerville getting booked. The other one was the attendance being a nice round 36,700. That was pretty neat.
That was very pleasing.
And then Gelhardt, just nice to see him. He didn't really play very well, but he was all right. Good to see him get a run out. Missed him, really.
Should we talk about the subs again? Because a few people in the comments are mentioning the lateness of the subs. I have a certain amount of sympathy. I know I flagged it up in recent weeks, like in recent shows, pointing out or questioning, asking about the lateness of the subs. Is it a point worth exploring? But I kind of have sympathy as well for Farker in that it's sort of demonstrably working, isn't it? In that we were getting loads and loads of chances. As you say, the chances weren't necessarily all clear cut, but you have that problem then of kind of maybe upsetting the balance or it not quite working or changing something that is working. It just didn't quite go our way today, did it?
I mean,
so you kind of get it. But we did go for the old 6 up front today, I would say, after the changes. It was like a 3-1-6, wasn't it, really?
I feel like in the past when he's been criticised for not making changes early enough, though, it's when we've been drawing and we were winning that game. We didn't change anything and then we scored.
Yeah.
And then we made changes not long after they scored, didn't we?
It was, I was just looking at that, it was 12 minutes after they'd scored. So we scored on 58, they scored 66. So yeah, if you're looking for the standard, change it on the hour, there was no need. But then 60...
His tends to be a standard change it on 70, though.
Yeah, I meant for other clubs.
Yeah.
You didn't, the hour is kind of the time
mark,
we
isn't it?
start
Yeah.
going, think about changes. If you're an unimaginative Neil Warnock type. And then 66 minutes they equalise, and then it's 78 when we bring on Pat and Wilf.
What do you think of that attacking formation towards the end? Because it was creating plenty of chances, although I'm not quite sure what Pat was doing other than being a warm body.
That's it. We just try to get in the way of everything because they've got loads of players back, so we just put loads of players forward and then see what happens. And it created the big chance for Dan James. Joe Roden had that flying header that just went over the bar.
He was definitely injured after that as well, but was trying desperately to not be because he was like, this ref's going to stop the game here. So I've just got to pretend my ear hasn't dropped off.
I'll just tape my leg back on or whatever.
I think he got a knock on the head. He really chucked himself at that. Deserved a goal.
So we keep plugging it. It's kind of 3-1-3-3, really, but it's never going to be fluid because you are just kind of trying to batter your way through what's essentially their back 8 by that time. That's how it ends up matching it up. And I don't know. It depends what's driving it, really, because because Coventry, the way they celebrate the win, the way at full time their fans threw...
It was a draw, by the way.
I know. I know what I mean is...
Celebrated like a win.
Celebrated like a win, which is kind of... that's the point.
I knew what you meant.
They threw on smoke bombs. The fans were cheering the whole thing. And I did at one point, I had a weird moment with about 5 minutes to go where I looked at the scoreboard and I'm like, we are drawing, aren't we? They're not winning, but they were definitely acting as if they were. So which came first was whether it's about Coventry going to a back eight and Farkas saying, right, the only way we're going to get through this is to throw on 6 attackers, or whether it's us throwing on 6 attackers and then they go into a back eight. But I don't know what else you do in that situation when you know that the other team are going to defend the draw for all they're worth, apart from just try and attack them as much as possible. Makes sense to have loads of people who can score goals on the pitch, and if you haven't got those, you just put Pat Bamford and Joe Gelhart on. I'm sorry, lads.
Put more of them on.
That felt unfair.
Man of the match, who would you go for? Somerville got it on FOTMob.
Yeah,
About right. I thought, just returning to what we were saying earlier, I thought Dan James had a good game. He did a lot of defensive work.
Yeah, he's quick, isn't he? Is his main thing. He did actually, I'd have to see it again, but it looked like he should have created a good chance for Rutte, but I think he had a complete air kick, so I don't think it would even count as a shot on XG. First half, I'm sure he got in down the right hand side, he chased a bit of a lost cause and cut one back. And I think Rutte just had a swing and a miss.
Oh, Rutte wasn't near enough.
Oh, wasn't it? Okay,
Yeah.
it was far end from me. So
It was like a long ball.
Shit cross then, stupid.
No, it was a good cross. But it was a surprise because it was one of those long balls over the top that I think was aimed for somebody else, and Jan James was just like, I can get to that. So he got to it in the corner, challenged their fullback to win it, and then put the crossover. And Rutte was stretching out his leg, but it was about a foot in front of him, so couldn't quite get onto it. But yeah, Dan James really good. I'm tempted to give it to Strauch just because I thought, mainly because I enjoyed watching him wrestling with Sims all day. It was a lot of fun, and he did one. I mean, these are so specific, minor moments, but they stay in my stupid brain. But he did one pass out to the left to Wilf that just he looked like a kind of a 1970s player at a World Cup, just like passed perfectly into the space for the winger and striding along with his hair blowing in the breeze. So like I said, kind of given up on the idea of us winning the game at that point. So I was looking like anything like Pascal Strauch's beautiful body shape when passing.
And beautiful
so he can have the player of the match for that for me.
But yeah, Somerville just keeps making things happen, doesn't he?
Yeah,
and he's the best.
Isn't he?
He seems to be the best finisher we have in those areas as well, where it's you only get a fraction of a second to hit the right moment. Where there's a little gap in the defence, and
he's getting quite good at that little opening your body thing. I was
going to say when he can see for a split second, he can see a corner of the net, and he seems to know when to take that shot.
What do you feel about it in terms of like the table and how it leaves us? Because obviously Ipswich dropped points.
Yeah, you just put the table up.
I've just put the table up on screen. My new button. Do you like that?
That's amazing, isn't it? Get it off now. Yeah, it feels like a playoffy week, doesn't it?
It does. It's so disappointing when you've got a chance like that presents itself. But it's a very Leeds thing to do, isn't it? To not capitalise on the team dropping points. But yeah,
I suppose. I mean, it's a derby for them, isn't it? So form goes out the window and all that. But I suppose both us and them would have expected to win today.
We should have done really, but it's opened up that 6-point gap now. Looking down the table to beneath Southampton, but they've caught us on points. I'm not really even sort of thinking about Southampton. I'm only kind of looking upwards, which I suppose says a lot about
you're an arrogant prick.
My absolute pig-headed Premier League arrogance. But
Southampton have beaten Blackburn 4-0 today. That's what they went and did. There was a red card though. Oh yeah, so it was 1-0 and then a Blackburn player, Callum Britton, gets sent off for arguing, and then so 3 after that. So it's not really count, does it?
No.
Southampton missed a penalty as well, so they're just taking the piss.
So yeah, it's frustrating, isn't it? The whole thing.
Can you not put it back onto cameras now?
What, like that?
Oh, he has done it. I thought you were floundering around trying to find the right button.
Not floundering. I can even move the table with my little mouse on it. It's good.
Wow.
A little fancy thing. Yeah, thanks for joining us on the stream if you have done. We will be back with all the usual stuff in the run-up to Christmas. So most of the usual format will be taking a break over Christmas, won't it?
Yeah.
Just because so many matches.
Because there's games and Christmas.
And also it's Christmas. Yeah. And
correct. Speaking of Christmas, get your orders in for calendars and merch and that, because we're sending them out on Monday. And if you don't get your order in by Sunday night...
This is UK, by the way.
In the UK. Oh, if you're abroad, you fucked it. Sorry about that. Christmas is already ruined. Find some other festivals to celebrate because you've already missed it. Oscar's put in his book.
Yeah,
Leslie spied.
Yeah.
Leslie knows what this is.
His book's there.
So that's
if you've already got one, Leslie, buy another.
Yeah, so thanks for letting us hawk off our wares. It's all at the Square Bolt on, as is the new mag. Check this out. There it is on screen. Showing the video version. Look at that.
Lovely, that. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, but you can buy that on there too. Or you can buy it at the Ipswich game.
Yes.
where our promotion hopes will be well and truly finished.
Hey, they couldn't beat Norwich.
They couldn't. We could still beat them. We could. We just need. It just feels like we're out of form this week.
But you've got to have a little wobble at some point. And if a defeat and a draw is all it is, then fine. Because if we come out and we beat Ipswich, it's going to completely reignite the whole feeling, isn't it, going into Christmas?
Yeah.
And when Wayne Rooney does us a favour on Monday night, just
of course he will.
Pretend with the Rhinos, Wayne. He loves them.
I mean,
Do it for Ronnie.
A bold fraud against a should-be bold fraud in that game, because obviously Rooney's had him.
Yes.
He's had it sorted out.
Yeah. We've just got to let this one go, I think, haven't we? For the sake of our own well-being.
No, I want to sit here till we've won. I hate drawing these games.
Yeah. Frustrating, but, there you go. What can you do? Stupid football team. Stupid
Fuck
game. Merry Christmas. Right, we'll catch you with all the usual stuff starting next week. Then back with Phil. We'll get the view from the press box after this on Monday, and some propaganda maybe on Tuesday, depending on what's happened elsewhere.
Yeah.
Jordan Bataka's team have won today 2-0.
Oh, thank God.
So that's good. I don't think he's played for a while. He's back in the side for Ashdod. So 2-0 win. So that's good for him.
That's great news. Well, listen, we will draw a line under it there, I think, and say
once we're on to Jordan Bataka's latest exploits, we've had enough.
We've run out of steam. Merry Christmas if we don't speak to you before then, and we'll see you in a bit.
We will.
The Match Ball.